The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. McLane Company has a career for you. McLane driver teammates have guts, grit, and a go-getter attitude, and they're looking for more of it. McLane offers an average first-year pay of $55,000 to $65,000 a year, health benefits on day one, and an industry-leading 401k plan. And experienced drivers may receive up to a $10,000 sign-on bonus. To learn more, visit driveforbrooklyn.com. That's driveforbrooklyn.com. McLane Company is an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome to the latest Russo-Souhan Show. Michael is on the West Coast. I'm Jim Souhan. I'm back in the Twin Cities. This is part of the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network, MNSPN.com. Find all the shows at MNSPN.com or subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Thanks to McLane Trucking, proud sponsor of the Holiday Hope campaign. You'll hear more about that later. Also, thanks to our regular sponsors, Twill in the Dining Galleria, Fixology Repair, Sandvold Financial Group, Todd Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group advertises with this podcast, and Crown Bank, crown-bank.com. So, Michael, we were just talking off the air, and you mentioned that you were steaming one of your shirts. This led to me thinking about a famous baseball story, but I'll let you tell me just how soaking wet your entire wardrobe is now that you've tried this.
And this is not, this might offend people that are certainly green and want to conserve water, but I think business travelers often we get lazy, don't want to pull out the iron, so you throw your shirt on a throw your shirt on a hanger and turn the shower on as hot as you can get it. And I did that about an hour and a half ago and forgot about it. So right when you called, I'm like, oh my God, and I ran in there, but it's just a very steamed shirt right now. There's no wrinkles in it, I'll tell you that.
Well, the team you cover very well, and you tell a lot of stories about behind the scenes. Well, when I cover the Twins, I as a beat writer, I heard all the weird stuff that went on behind the scenes, about 98% of which I couldn't write. And I'm going to admit that I can't remember clearly. It was a veteran pitcher who was a little goofy. It might have been Pelfrey, it might have been Pavano. I want to say it was Pavano. One of these guys in a hotel, I believe in Chicago, hung up his shirt, did the trick, hung up his dress shirt, turned on the shower, left it on hot, left it running, and then he went to bed and he fell asleep. He woke up and the room looked like London fog, and wallpaper was starting to peel off the walls. It was so soaked.
Yeah, well, I had a worse experience, and it was here in Anaheim as well, although I'm in Newport Beach right now. In the 2007 playoffs, I guarantee I've told this on the, I can't believe that was 10 years ago. I guarantee I've told this on the podcast, but in the 2007 playoffs, I was doing that, and then I put my Bose headphones on and started transcribing or writing or whatever. And next thing I know, I hear banging on the door, and I take off my headphones and I take one step from the desk and I'm in a swimming pool. And all of a sudden my heart sinks and I realize this is security or somebody. I mean, I'm at the desk and the entire room is flooded, and the weight of the shower put the tub stop down, and boom, it just overflowed, and I had no clue because I was writing, and I not only destroyed the room, but they knew it because all of a sudden I was flooding the room below me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like what?
That
do you
is
do?
worse.
Yeah.
So what they do?
I'm amazed that the Star Tribune never got like a letter from DoubleTree thing, like an insurance claim or something.
You know what? You're such a Marriott guy. You sabotaged a DoubleTree hotel.
And you know what was unbelievable?
You're a travel terrorist.
I'm thinking I go to the manager. I'm like, well, am I kicked out? Am I arrested? What? And they're like, no, we'll just put you in another room, but don't do it again. And I'm like, great.
Oh God. Beautiful.
Oh man, what an idiot I am.
Well, I'm right there with you. Let's be honest. All right, let's get to some hockey. The Wild is continuing to be semi-interesting in a really tortured way. Let's start with this. You know Boudreau better than anybody else around here, and you gauge his mood very well. And you have, even when he can't repeat exactly what he's talking about, saying you have a sense for what's going on. Is he disgusted at this point?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, the other morning he proved it. The morning of the LA Kings game, when Dane from the Pioneer Press asked him, he goes, "Do you see similarities with this year's team and last year's team that basically they had the almost identical record and they had just a year ago and a day before started their 12-game winning streak?" And he goes, "No, I don't really. We have a very different team."
Wow.
And nobody seemed to pick up on what he was saying, but it was the indictment of all indictments. He was saying that this team is not the same, not nearly as good as last year's team. And then afterwards, the game, I mean, it made for the easy follow-up from me, is afterwards the Wild then go out and blow a 2-1 third period lead, lose 5-2. And I basically said, "Is this what you meant by this morning?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, we're a totally turned over team. We're not nearly as confident. What he didn't want to say is our third and fourth lines and our D suck.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to say that. And that's the problem. That's the scary thing, is that they had so much turnover coming into this year. And, a lot of them, fans probably were tired of Jason Pominville. And Scandella, look, the reality is that he had 2 tough years in a row, but he's still better than what they have on their third pair. And, I know that losing guys like Jordan Schrader and Christian Folin, and at the time Nate Prosser, probably don't get fans all going, crazy that these are great players. But the reality is that all of a sudden you take away all this depth from this team, and you now makeshift the third and fourth lines with guys that are just have not been good, that haven't fit in. The Quincy's, the Cullens, the Ennis's and Felinos. And they're not nearly as good a team. And then obviously you throw Riley and Olofsson on board, who have not been as consistent as you would like. And this team is just not the same team as they were last year. And so can this team go on a run that they're going to have to? I mean, I know they're barely out of a playoff spot, but they are in an atrocious spot, Jim. I mean, and the reason why I say that is the way that I always look at things is when you're in the top 8, who's backing out? And if you're out of the top 8, who's going to go in? You know what's the most frightening thing to me is that, first of all, we know that Nashville, Winnipeg, and St. Louis are not just going to hit the skids where they're all of a sudden out of the playoffs, in my opinion. Okay, maybe Dallas, maybe San Jose puts the Wild in a position. But they're surrounded by Calgary, Anaheim, Minnesota, and Calgary, Anaheim, and Chicago. They're out of the playoff spot. Those eventually, the Blackhawks and the Ducks are going to get it together. And so now you're praying for teams to hit the skids that are above you. But then you're praying that these pretty established teams aren't going to all of a sudden realize who they are and go on a run. So the Wild are in a terrible spot, even though they're a point out. And they're 4 points out of the top wild card spot. So they are in a real tough spot right now, Jim. And so they've got to figure this out quick here. And when you are up 2-1 on the road, the way they were in LA the other day, you've got to win that game. And certainly if it's 2-2 with 6 minutes left, you got to get a point. And the Wild did neither because of absolutely unfocused bad plays.
I have questions about that, another question about Boudreau and about the Blackhawks. Do want to thank twillmn.com, Twill in the Edina Galleria, Scott Dayton's shop for men's clothing, both casual and very nice. I own examples of both. Check them out on Twill on Instagram, as well as twillmn.com, and it is located in the Edina Galleria, which I talk about all the time because it's so easy to get in and out of.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
You think Bruce regrets taking this job?
I mean, I don't think so. He would have been in Ottawa. I know they were a game from the Stanley Cup Finals last year, but I don't think he regrets it. But I definitely don't think that he knew when he took this job, the egos that he was going to have to deal with. I think he thought this team of all the teams were the closest to winning the Stanley Cup, and but you look at what they've got, and you've got veterans that are who they are at this point, and you needed. What's scary to me is that the core of the guys, the Ninos, the Zuckers, the Granlunds, the Coyles, are actually hitting that year where their time in their career where they're in their peak years, and this is still who they are because their depth isn't nearly as good as what you expected them to be, or what he expected them to be. And then the other thing I don't think he realized is that their cupboard wasn't as stocked as maybe he thought they were. And so I don't think he regrets it, but I think he certainly realizes they're not nearly as cup ready as maybe he thought that they were going to be. He thought this team was as close of all the teams that had potential openings, Calgary, Ottawa, Minnesota at the time. He thought that this team was as close as anybody to winning it all. And I think that he's seeing right now that last year was probably their best chance, and obviously they didn't get it done.
Are the Blackhawks in real trouble?
Well, they certainly look to be. They're in a huge skid right now. You have Crawford hurt. Berube is not nearly Corey Crawford in net, and then they've had a lot of chances, so they are in definite danger of tipping sideways. I don't know how long Crawford is out. Crawford has also had a history of when he comes back into the lineup, it takes him a little while to get back to his to where he was. So I definitely think that they're in a bit of an issue right now, but you still got the core guys still there. The other one that's different. We always talk about their core, being Kane, Taves. Before we had Hossa in there, he's gone. Before you had Panarin in there, he's gone. Crawford's hurt. You add Keith and Seabrook. Seabrook's playing like crap to the point that he's on the third pair and going up against third and fourth lines every night. So their core is not nearly as daunting as it used to be when you say, oh my God, Kane, Hossa, Taves, Panarin, Keith, Seabrook, Crawford. So that's obviously a huge concern.
In a recent conversation with Nick Henry, who does the fan show on our network, check out Nick's show, the Minnesota Sports Fan Podcast, on mnspn.com, along with all our other shows. By the way, I'm also doing a different version of my show now with co-host Ryan Shaver. Excuse me, did I say Schaefer? I was thinking Paul Schaefer. Ryan Shaver, who son of a longtime friend of mine, Randy Shaver. We're actually doing a show. We did an interview with Joe Laurinaitis, one of the Road Warriors this week. We've done Cheryl Reeve and Jordan Taylor, people like that. We'll have Paul Molitor here in the future. Check out that show as well. Anyway, I was talking to Nick Henry, and he brought up kind of the fan perspective being, boy, these guys just don't, there's not enough effort. They don't play 60-minute games. I told him, I don't want to be rude, but I think those are like excuse/cliches. If you get a chance to score and you don't score, and if you give up a great opportunity to the other team, they do score, that's what matters on the scoreboard. This idea that every time you lose, you didn't give a good enough effort, talent matters, skill matters.
Yeah, no doubt. But I will say from what Nick said, what I'm seeing a lot of on Twitter lately is just fans saying they're not a fun, interesting team to watch anymore.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Last year, you were thoroughly entertained by these guys. And I think there's a character flaw when all of a sudden you could have a third period the way they did against the Nashville Predators 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, and that they have got no momentum from that. It didn't even filter into the next game. They didn't teach them the speed and the excitement that they've got to play with. There is no it's like every single game they come out and it's like wait and see mode. What is the other team going to do, and then we'll react. And so that's a flaw right now, and that's not just going to automatically fix itself with a snap of the fingers. And in terms of what you were saying with talent and things like that, you're right. I mean, you look at the games that they lose. Again, you look at the St. Louis game. They're down 3-0 after one. They actually played a quality first period. Their first and third goals were horrendous, and Dubnyk and Quincy served one up on the second goal. But why did they lose that game? Because they didn't, how would that complexion of that first period change if Nino puts the puck into the empty net, if Zach Mitchell buries that rebound chance, if there was another unbelievable play at the net. They don't bury their chances. Last game, how does that complexion of that game change if Marcus Foligno puts that one puck in, coming in? If Nino doesn't turn the puck over 60 times, Nino's turnovers the last month. I know that he is scoring goals, although he's back at being invisible again. But man, I mean, the turnovers in his own zone are becoming horrendous, and it is driving the coaches nuts. It is constant. So they, and then Mikko this is who Mikko is. I mean, Mikko, if you remember, Mikko, I think scored 1 goal in his final 23 games last season. And, again, not playing nearly as well this year. You definitely don't hear at this point last year, or maybe in a couple of weeks, you started to hear Bruce Boudreau campaigning like this guy needs to win the Norris, this guy needs to win the Selke, this guy should win the, whatever. And you're certainly not hearing that right now out of his mouth.
No, you're not. Hey, thanks to Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com, third floor of the Mall of America, up by Nordstrom's. We haven't seen John Hedges in a long time, and we tried to call him a nice guy, and he said, not necessarily. But I actually think he's a nice guy. So, and he provides great customer service, as do all of his people at fixologyrepair.com. Third floor of the Mall of America, up by Nordstrom's.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at Mall of America. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
That was one heck of a radio voice you had there.
Yeah,
Jim.
I'm not used to speaking that way. I don't know where that came from. Maybe I don't know. I'll never do it again. That's all I can say. I promise I'll never do it.
500 podcasts. You finally got your, you finally were able to radio voice into an ad.
Of course, what I've always prided myself on is not having a radio voice. So now I'm ruined. I'm ruined for life.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of screw ups, Dumba.
Well, I mean, just again, situational hockey the other night. I mean, it's like you almost got to. Before a period, explain to him a situation in the game, almost like a baseball manager that sits there and says, all right, well, if the guys, this is where you hit and run. This is where, I mean, it's like the other night, there's a proper way to play on the road when you're up 2-1 in the third, and I know there's a fine balance there because Bruce was bemoaning in the morning that they never seem to go for the kill when they're up. But that's a game where, to me, the Kings are going to push. So you've got to wait. So you have the opportunity to wait for them to make their mistakes and be reckless as they're down by a goal trying to rally back. By the way, a period where they're outscoring opponents 40-13 this year, which is just nuts to me. And then Dumba just recklessly pinches in on his offside, by the way. Recklessly pinches in through traffic. Marcus Foligno, who's not exactly the most gifted offensive player, then tries to thread him a pass, turnover, and then to make matters worse, Dumba's facing the action, skating backwards. He sees it's going to be an odd man rush, and then decides to go hit a guy without a puck for no reason. And boom. Now Suter should have played it better, whatever. But I mean, that's just it can't happen, and that's where the injury to Jared Spurgeon, is just it's a daunting thing that this team's got to deal with, because you've taken a thin blue line now, and now you've put Matt Dumba in positions where he's going up against freaking Kopitar and Gaborik, and it's just not good. So it's he doesn't think the game well at times, and it's a huge problem. And you think he's turning the corner by having a couple good games in a row, but then he does something like that, and then again, this isn't all on Dumbo. Then they go into a complete shell because, as Ryan Suter says, there's something with this team this year that when things go wrong, they just completely collapse. They go into a shell for the next 8 minutes, but still you're 6 minutes from getting a point on the road in LA. And then Dubnyk carelessly, sloppily takes a puck that's going harmlessly into the corner and puts it off his own defenseman and in. It just, it cannot happen. We talk all the time about these fluky goals that go in off Dubnyk. Well, there's one where he created the fluke. And you just got to be sharper. And I don't know. It's just this team. It's an aggravating team to watch and cover. I'll tell you that.
Do you think Dubnyk plays his best when he just happens to get hot and he leads, or do you think he plays his best when he's confident of the defense in front of him and he reacts to that?
Well, yeah, but I mean that's no excuse. I mean, he was playing an okay game, and then all of a sudden he made the mess up, and that's not because he's worried that guys in front of him aren't playing well, or that he's worried about his D. I mean, the problem with Dubnyk this year is there's been zero consistency. 3 shutouts in a row, then gives up like 18 goals in his next 4 starts. Plays out of his mind against the St. Louis Blues, wins them a game that they probably have no right to win, and then his next time out, he gives up another 4 goals, and one is completely his fault. And that one happened to be the game-winning goal in the third period with 6 minutes left. They just need him to be better, man. And, it's like somebody said to me the other day on Twitter, like, if Dubnyk plays like that, the Wild will be fine. And that's exactly right. If they need Dubnyk to be exceptional right now because they're not a good hockey team. They are the quintessential 500 team right now. And, win 2, lose 2, and drive you crazy. And that's just what they are right now. And they are so poor in terms of giving up goals right now. It is unbelievable. They look like they kind of turned a corner the way they played against Vegas and St. Louis, and then you come on the road and give up 5 in LA. And these are 2 tough games, but very winnable games. I mean, this Anaheim team, I watched them last night. They played very well against the Ottawa Senators, but man, they are right there with the Wild. They're a team that the night the Wild lost 7-2 in Winnipeg, they lost 7-3 at home to, I can't remember who it was. This is a team that you should be able to beat tomorrow, and the Wild have to get it done. And then the Wild go to San Jose, where they never play well, but you're playing a team against a game against a team that is up and down right now in the Sharks, that is coming back from a West Coast trip, that is playing at home the night before you play them. That's a game you better win, because all of a sudden you go home and you got game after game after game coming up. I mean, and we know the Wild, when they play 7-12, 8-13, they usually flounder. And so there's not going to be a lot of practice time coming up. So the Wild need to have a good practice today here in Anaheim and good practice Saturday in San Jose, because that's going to be it for the next couple of weeks.
Wow. Thanks to Todd Moritz, Moritz, of Sandvold Financial Group, SAND, V as in Victory, OLD, for sponsoring the program. If you need any financial services, well, here, I'll let Sandvold Financial Group tell you.
Plan for tomorrow today. It sounds easy, but for many people it's not. The good news is, planning for your financial future isn't something you have to do all by yourself. Visit sandvoldfinancialgroup.com to request more information and ask for the tax-efficient insight of Todd Moritz, CPA.
Registered representative of and independent of Questar Capital Corporation. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Questar Asset Management.
So you had a conversation with the Iowa head coach. What has he got down there?
Yeah, I was talking to Derek Lalonde today just about Eriksson Ek and Cunnin, and he basically said Cunnin came down with almost no offensive confidence, and he's starting to get that back right now. But they really need to get him going down there. Eriksson Ek, he was very happy with. They gave him by design huge minutes as the top center on the team, and he got 7 points in 7 games, scored an overtime winner. He said that his minutes at times became a little uncomfortable. They played an overtime game that actually Eriksson Ek scored the winning goal in, and he actually played 23 minutes that night. So there was times where they probably, the detail in his game slipped because he was getting too many minutes down there. But the hope is that they set him up to come up here now and play well and contribute offensively, because he wasn't getting a sniff offensively down by the point that he was sent down to the minors. And I do think that we're going to find out today at practice, but I think that Matt Cullen got hurt at the end of the Kings game, which probably precipitated the Eriksson Ek move. But we'll see if Eriksson Ek comes up and plays well. The one thing I talked to Lalonde about is a lot of us fans, media have been kind of questioning taking Eriksson Ek over Brock Besser lately. And, so I asked Lalonde a lot, not to sit there and analyze that, but, what exactly does he think that Eriksson Ek can be at the NHL level? And he really thinks that he can be an elite second line center or even a top line center, because he does so many incredible things that, a lot of casual fans might not even see. But that stuff that you really got to teach young centermen that this guy already does well. So we'll see if it translates. I mean, there's no doubt there's a lot of talent there, and that there's a lot of tools, but they would really like to get Eriksson Ek going up here and being a guy that doesn't just play fourth line, third line minutes.
Let's do a few Twitter questions. Andy Marshall, when Jordan Leopold was here, we heard lots about him mentoring. Why do we not hear similar mentions about Suter mentoring Dumba? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question to ask, to answer. I mean, there's no doubt that in Jordan at that point in his career, he was 7th D pretty much, and he came here and, he hit it off with Dumba. There's no doubt about it. All right, from Marek, M-A-R-E-K on Twitter, what's the hesitation to put Granlund with Stahl and Nino on the top line? Granlund needs 2 shooters, plus then 16, 9, and 3 make up a good top 6.
I'll ask that question today. But my guess is what Bruce would say was that, he's essentially used that Koivu-Granlund line as sort of a quasi-checking line going up against top opponents every single night, and they usually do their job in that situation because he trusts Granlund so much, and obviously Koivu is such an elite defensive center. But I do think there just comes a point where you got to separate them. Mikko is not getting it done right now, and because Mikko is not getting it done, doesn't bury pucks, Granlund's not producing as well. So, I'll ask that question at practice today.
Good. From CSMN Wild on Twitter, what has the atmosphere been like in the locker room after games, practice days, etc.? Does it feel like a team that is together or divided?
I think they're together. I just think that they're not a very good team right now. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration and things like that, but I definitely don't think that they're in a situation where it's just a broken locker room.
Thanks to McLane Trucking, MC capital L-A-N-E Trucking, proud sponsor of the Holiday of Hope campaign. Great way to help out families in need this time of year.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. McLane Company has a career for you. McLane driver teammates have guts, grit, and a go-getter attitude, and they're looking for more of it. McLane offers an average first-year pay of $55,000 to $65,000 a year, health benefits on day one, and an industry-leading 401k plan. And experienced drivers may receive up to a $10,000 sign-on bonus. To learn more, visit driveforbrooklyn.center.com. That's driveforbrooklyn.center.com. McLane Company is an equal opportunity employer.
From MJ, a loyal listener, who are your go-to scribes and media for Southern California hockey coverage? Anybody you'd recommend?
Helene Elliott, Hall of Fame hockey writer in Los Angeles. Yep. Tremendous. Lisa Dillman, who covers was at the LA Times forever, is one of us, by the way. Her dad was Dick Dillman, the old North Stars PR guy, and the Dick Dillman Award is actually named after her dad. That's what's given to the top PR staffs in the NHL each year, is voted by the Professional Hockey Writers Association. She writes for NHL.com right now. She was at the LA Times forever. Eric Stevens, terrific hockey writer for the Orange County Register. And then the guy that we just hired at The Athletic up in San Jose, Kevin Kurz, is sensational. So those would be my guys.
Where did Kevin come from?
Kevin originally came from Philly, but he was at CSN.
That's right. Yeah, I thought I saw him on the CSN site.
CSN, I guess it was San Francisco or Bay Area?
Bay Area, I believe.
CSN, Bay Area. Yeah.
Right. Another one from MJ. Favorite strib photographers for us to work with, for either of us. I just, there's so many. The Star Tribune has an incredible photography staff. It's one of the points of emphasis for our newspaper was maintaining our staff instead of just making the easy cuts that a lot of newspapers made. Carlos Gonzalez is a good friend. He's my lead guitarist, so I'll start there. But Brian Peterson's a genius. Jeff Wheeler's excellent. Jerry Holt is excellent. Those guys all do a lot of sports. We have just a great staff. Those are just the people I end up working with the most on sports. You have any favorites, Michael?
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, Carlos is, I think, the best hockey photographer ever.
Wow.
But I mean, there's just so many at the. Aaron Levinsky is awesome. Also.
Aaron's good. Yeah, Aaron's a newer member of our staff, but he's excellent as well.
Yeah, and Jeff Wheeler's terrific.
Yep.
So there's that entire staff at the Strib is awesome.
Absolutely. And MJ also asked your favorite holiday food or beverage.
Me?
Yeah.
Chicken and broccoli. I don't know. I am.
You're making me choke.
Yeah.
You're making me choke. I used to like egg. I will say I used to like eggnog. I can't do it anymore. It's kind of at some point it just started to gross me out. So I just like turkey dinners. I like Thanksgiving, Christmas. I like turkey dinners with stuffing and all that kind of stuff. Cameron Maxwell, do you see either Suter or Koivu's game changing for the better? And if you were to pick an ideal captain for this team, which player could lead them out of their troubles?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't. The question. Improving for the better, I don't really understand. I mean, is he saying that they're going to, read the question again?
Basically, he's asking, is either Suter or Koivu going to play better? And
like
I don't know.
In the future or
like
this year?
I think the rest of this season is what the implication is.
I'm fine with Suter. I think Koivu looks tired to me. And I think he's been one of the most disappointing players on the team. I really do. I just, he was so good in the first 4 or 5 months of last season. And he hasn't been that way this year. For a veteran that just got an extension, they definitely need him to be better. And that, I mean, you look at the games that he's blown empty nets. It's been 4 or 5 times this year. And those were games that the Wild lost.
Yeah, and which reminds me of that one series in Chicago where he had an open net and missed it too. It's been a problem for him throughout his career, and it's even exacerbated now that he's not playing as well overall. Paris Block says, I miss seeing this show live. Tell you what, be our scouts. Everybody listen to the show. If you can find a place that will actually, and listen, we're a capitalist enterprise. We like to make money doing live shows. We're not just doing it as a favor to somebody. It costs us money to do live shows. So if you're ever at a place you think would be a good setup for us, do me a favor and find out who the boss is, because that's one thing that we're not very good at is kind of figuring out who to talk to at these places. So be our scouts. Find us a place. We'd love to do some more live shows. We'd love to get back to seeing our listeners face to face. By the way, thank you to Crown Bank, our longest-running sponsor, crown-bank.com, the place to do business, locations in Edina and Minneapolis.
Your banking relationship should match your lifestyle. And if your lifestyle is to live well, you want Crown Bank. You want a bank and a banker who will give you what you want and what you need without a hassle. Crown Bank is responsive. From ordering checks to making you a loan, they build a relationship with you that will help you get what you want so that you can live well. Crown Bank. It's a lifestyle choice and the place to do business. Member FDIC.
From Jake Walker, is this a playoff team? If not, what do they need to do to improve to get there? I know you've kind of touched on it before, but is there a simple answer?
I'm not confident that they're a playoff team right now, and I think to get there, they've got to get deeper on their third and fourth lines and their blue line. But I don't know how you do that. They're at 50 contracts now, which is the maximum. So and they're pretty much got cap hell as well. So I think their hope is that Parise comes back and he's fresh. Even though I think it's going to be tough early on when the league is going a couple 100 miles per hour, it seems, and he's going to be starting off without a training camp. But the hope is that he's fresh and can add a jolt to this team, both on the ice and in the locker room.
And do you know exactly when he's going to be back? Do you have a date set in your mind?
No, I mean, I will say I haven't gotten an update recently. If he's continued to progress well, I'll try to find that answer out here in the next day or two as well. But I would think early. I think some point early in the next year is what the hope is. He's got still a lot of work to do. I mean, he's got to get on the ice and start shooting pucks, and then eventually you got to get contact, and he's got to be confident that he can play that hard-nosed style that we've grown accustomed to seeing from.
All right, from Darren Walker. What do you think of teams in the NHL getting away from the game day skate? Many NBA teams have done away with the game day shoot around. The thought now is players would be better off getting more rest. What do you think?
Well, sometimes I think it's definitely beneficial. Like the Wild had a 5:00 game against St. Louis the other day, and even though he didn't make them go on the ice, Bruce made all the players come down at 9 a.m. And when you say a 9 a.m. meeting, that means you're really getting there at 8. That's a long day to make them do that. So I do think there's times and place for it. Now the Wild, their rule is simple. Like today they'll have a full practice, so tomorrow they'll have an optional skate. Saturday, my guess is Sunday. My guess is they won't have a morning skate because they'll practice Saturday, and it's an early game in San Jose, 6:00 time. But that's usually what they do. If they don't practice the day before, full skate. If they practice the day before, optional skate. So it's not like it's a taxing thing. But there comes a point. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but John Tortorella talks about this. Is that there comes a point that coming to the rink and putting on the gear becomes exhausting for these guys mentally. And so, I do think that sometimes there's a benefit to not making them come down. But, players and coaches have routines, and the Wild's routine is to have a PK meeting in the morning and to show video in the morning and things like that. So even on those times, it's like Bruce just wants to get them down to the rink. But, when you have a lot of guys living in a dyna, to come down in the morning sometimes can be a little bit, a pain in the ass. Let's put it that way.
From Jason Malley. Who are the Wild going to lose in the Seattle expansion draft?
That's funny.
That's pretty good.
They'll probably trade like one of their prospects to protect Dumba.
From Bill, hard to imagine Tyler Ennis on the Wild next season. Safe to assume there's either a trade or a buyout coming.
Well, if the Wild could trade him, you could bet that that they will attempt that. There's no doubt. Buyout. Well, that'd be, it's funny. I was just reading this story by the Athletics, Jeremy Rutherford, about how in Doug Armstrong's career with the Blues as the GM, he has not bought out a player. And I'm like, wow, the Wild buy out a player a summer. They're still paying Vanek. They just got Cook off the books. It's just on and on and on. Barker, it's just, they've had a lot of guys that they've, Tom Gilbert, a lot of guys they've bought out. I know I'm forgetting a couple as well. Mark Parrish, but that was pre-GM, pre-Chuck. So, you might as well just have another buyout.
From Eric Toftness, Coyle seems to play his best hockey at center. If they're trying to get Coyle more top 6 time, what keeps Koivu and his offensive struggles away from the checking role?
Well, he is in a checking role just because that's the thing. It's like, especially on the Wild, this first, second line business is just way too much. I mean, Mikko Koivu centers the Wild's checking line. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. He's the one that's going out against the top opponents every single night. Try to check him.
Another one from Bill. With Riley approaching his cutoff for waivers to Iowa, is he essentially playing for his Minnesota Wild career over the next 2 weeks?
Well, I don't know about that, but if he gets past that waiver thing, he's up here. And so, the problem is with Spurgeon. I think if Spurgeon wasn't hurt, he'd be down there already because I think they would want to protect that potential asset. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here in the next little bit.
From NH, how do the Wild expect rookie scoring impact when they don't put rookies with offensive players other than Cunnin playing with Stahl for a couple of games?
Yeah, it's hard to score. Well, Eriksson Ek was with Cunnin for more than a couple games. And so, the two of them should be able to score out with them. But definitely from a line perspective, it probably didn't help having Winnick on his left. Although Winnick has 3 assists in his last 5 games and has played pretty well. But, I would say that Eriksson Ek is one of those. The Wild don't have a ton of wingers right now that are scoring, and so you put Eriksson Ek with a Tyler Ennis, which he's played some shifts there and probably could tomorrow night as well. That should be an offensive player that helps. So, but Eriksson Ek is a center, and they've had a certain way, and when all of a sudden Bruce put that Boudreau, that when Bruce put that Winnick Eck Cunnin line together, all of a sudden he kind of felt in his mind that he found lightning in a bottle, because they never ever were on the ice for a goal against. But the problem is they didn't create anything either. So but I agree, they've got to change up. They've got to change up the chemistry there and put Eck more in a position to succeed. But he was getting quality ice time, but until that final game when he played less than 10 minutes, and finally management said, well, we can't have him and Cunnin both playing 9 minutes.
A lot of good Twitter questions remaining. So I'll just say my thank yous now, and then we'll get back to and finish up with all these Twitter questions, including one from Todd Moritz, one of our sponsors. Thanks to McLane Trucking and the Holiday of Hope program. Please check out the ad on this program for how you can help a family in need, and also check out the information about McLane Trucking. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria, Fixology Repair, 3rd floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's, Crown Bank, crown-bank.com, Todd Moritz, M-O-R-I-T-Z, of Sandvold Financial Group. And I'll actually ask the Todd Moritz's question: has Russo won Starbucks for life yet? And how much money would Starbucks lose if that would happen?
Their thing is that they wouldn't lose a ton, because the way I read it is it's not like you can go into Starbucks 10 times a day and buy. I think they give you kind of a drink a day for 30 years is the way that I've read the ground rules.
That's not Starbucks for life in your life.
Yeah, no, not at all. I have. Let's put it this way: the Starbucks for Life program has been going on for 3 days, and I'm almost done with my challenges.
Oh, Michael, just remember, always have a defibrillator nearby.
Yeah.
From Cody Pollock, can you give an update on the...
I'm not lucky enough to win Starbucks for life. Starbucks for a month. I'll just take that. How about that? They got all sorts of... They get Starbucks for a year, Starbucks for life, Starbucks for a month. I think Starbucks for a week.
I think you should cut back on Starbucks is my recommendation. Yeah. That's my life hack. From Cody Pollock, can you give an update on the Quincy situation? Is he not reporting to Iowa?
Basically, he isn't in Iowa yet. He's at home, is the way that I understand it, and that the Wild are trying hard to trade him. Sorry, I laughed saying that.
That's okay.
And if they can't trade him, then he'll probably report to Iowa just to essentially keep playing for the hope that the Wild will trade him, and that he could keep getting in the lineup and staying in shape and essentially playing. But right now he hasn't reported. But it's not like one of those where he's refusing to report. They're working in concert, the Wild and Quincy, to try to move him. And if he can't, then he'll go down there. But he is off their roster, and they've gotten a cap break from.
From Mike Swanger, loyal listener, if Fletcher is let go, would Flair stand a chance of getting the job, or would Fletcher's decision pull him down too?
That's way too speculative for me right now. Again, as I said on the last podcast, there's potential of a lot of free agent GMs available this summer, and so I think that is way too premature to it's kind of like when Bruce was hired. We kind of knew that the Wild were going to go with an experienced coach after going with Richards, and it's same thing. It's like, if you go with Chuck, and all of a sudden you might have a Kenny Holland out there, or a Dean Lombardi, or even a Lou Lamoriello, whatever. If you're Craig Leopold, can you justify giving a GM job to Chuck's right hand man when you could potentially get somebody that's got a ton of experience? So. But again, we got to see the way the team is then and what happens.
A couple more Twitter questions.
Who's available?
A couple more Twitter questions from Skylar Vasius. With Eck being called up, who withdraws from the lineup? Could you see Eck being tried on the wing?
I would have said that yesterday, but I found out yesterday afternoon that it looks like Matt Cullen got hurt at the end of the game in L.A. So it sounds like that they'll have to put Eck at center. But we'll know at practice here when they practice today at 3:30 Central.
From Mike Burgoyne, chances we see Suter and Brodin back together. I'm sure Suter's upset at having Dumba as his partner.
Originally they were going to at least have Brodin on the right side, but then Murphy started playing well, and then they also figured, why should they take an already thin blue line and take another blue liner and put him on his offside when they didn't really need to. So that's essentially the rationale there. But I don't know. We'll see at practice today if Dumba and Suter are still together. They certainly had their problems last game. They were by far the worst pair.
Wow. From Jama Man, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who do they miss more, Scandella, Scott Stevens, or Parisi?
You know, I mean, a lot of people ask this question. They miss Scott Stevens. There's no doubt about it. But I would still say Scandella. I mean, you know, to me, the problem is on the ice, and their top six right now, especially with Spurgeon out, is just not good enough. And so, you know, we have definitely, with the Wild struggles on the back end, probably exaggerated the ability level of Scandella. You know, I think we've all forgotten how tough of the last 2 years Scandella has had on this team. And so, but is he better than Riley is he better than Riley and Olsen? Probably. So, that's where the issue is. So I'll still go Scandella because their issues are on the ice, not off of it.
We haven't done a lot of Twitter questions the last few shows, so let's buzz through a few more just so we get some more people. From Carson, has your blood pressure gone down now that you don't have deadlines?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, literally, but definitely stress level. What is good about this is now I can see the third periods and know exactly what's going on. Where, you know, I mean, I'll tell you, like an example is the other night. If you're on deadline of that game, you miss, you know, the whole exactly what happened on the Dumba thing, and that's one where I saw it live, where all of a sudden, you know, the writers that are writing from the Pioneer Press and the Star Tribune, they definitely don't see it, you know, live because they got their head buried in their laptop. And so that's where, you know, from that standpoint, it's just a lot easier to be able to explain things that are happening on the ice.
Two more Twitter questions. One from Mark. Is Foligno becoming the latest Fletcher signing of a role player to an Albatross contract?
Well, $285 is a lot of money.
Yeah. From Lawrence Alberts, forget salary cap issues. What Minnesota-born player currently in the NHL do you wish were a member of the Wild?
Yeah, no comment on Lawrence.
All righty then.
Yeah, Lawrence has got he exaggerates the whole Minnesota-born thing.
I'm not familiar with Albert's work, so I must have missed the reference. You have a final thought for us, Michael?
No, just a beautiful day here in California. Looking forward to.
Hey, are you near the wildfires?
No, I was a little bit in L.A., but not that where it affected me. But man, I'll tell you, that the one yesterday that went by the Getty, that is where my aunt and uncle used to live in Sherman Oaks. It's right below the tunnel there. It's unbelievable to me to think that thing was completely. You know, that place was just engulfed. And then, you know, you watch the cars going on the 405 right there. I mean, I've driven that 1,000 times when my aunt and uncle lived down here. So that was frightening. But no, I was in L.A., and the forest fires weren't anywhere near. It was more kind of in a you know, a little, I think, south of Santa Barbara area. And then right now I'm in Newport Beach, and the winds are crazy. But as far as I know, there's no fires near here.
It's amazing to me that California's burning, and with everything else in the news, it feels like it's a devastating tragedy, and it feels like number 8 news story of the day or week.
Yeah, well, that's a problem right there.
Yes. All right, I didn't mean to end it on a downer, but I ended on a downer, so we'll get out of here. Thanks to all of our sponsors.
This whole podcast has been a downer.
It really has been. You know, we need more stories about you doing stupid things in hotel rooms.
Yeah, no. Well, there's a lot of season left.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
No.
Blah, blah, blah. Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
There's something celebratory about Bubbles. Our ridiculous selection of champagne and sparkling wines will make the holidays pop.
Who couldn't use a friendly wine elf? I can help you find the perfect bottle at just the right price.
Deep frying a turkey this year? A rich and earthy Chateau Neuf de Pop would make an interesting pairing.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you this holiday. Now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
It's your last chance to get gifts before the holiday, and right now at Old Navy, everything's up to 75% off with gifts from just $1, $2, $3, and $4. Buy online, pick up in store for free in 2 hours with extended store hours too. Get up to 75% off everything at Old Navy and OldNavy.com now. Valid 12/18 to 12/24, excludes gift cards, today only, 2-day only deals, register lane items, jewelry, and Zip Zap stuff gifting bins. Orders must be placed before 4 p.m. for same-day pickup, subject to availability and delays. Additional terms apply.